One of the best parts about football is that you most often get out of it what you put into it. So after watching the Patriots' uninspiring 30-17 loss to the Cardinals in Arizona, and then rewatching the game upon returning home, I came away with this thought. The Patriots got what they deserved. It was an unacceptable performance for a team coming off a bye, and there should be genuine soul searching at all levels of the organization for how a team with a Patriots logo on the helmet could allow that to happen. That scathing review of the New England Patriots' dismal performance in week 15, coming off of their bye week, was delivered by none other than the man accused, rather not accused, but rather labeled as most frequently the nicest man in Patriots Nation and the Patriots media cartel, the one and only Mike Reese. Patriots, if you have fallen on the bad side of Mike Reese, you know you done messed up and it's time to fix things. Is Jerod Mayo capable of actually fixing the team, pulling the team out of the spiral and saving his job? Or, per a report a few hours back from our pal and friend at WEEI, Tom E. Curran, could Mike Vrabel be legitimately interested in the job as HC of the NEP? And would the Krafts decide to make such a sweeping change? We will discuss on today's edition of the Six Rings and Football Things podcast, live here on the Fitzy GFY and WEEI socials. My broadcast partner and pal, Andy Hart, froze as we decided to broadcast this live. So right now, it's just your old pal, Nick Fitzy Stevens, flying solo. You may have seen, if you're watching live right now, the image of Andy who now rejoins us thanks to a technological mishap. That was interesting. As I was doing the intro to the show, you were there with finger near nose, if you happen to be watching on the live stream. And I thought, like, wow, he's super curious. Andy's really paying attention today. This is funny. No, actually, it just was a technological gaffe. You know, what can you do? We've got drones flying all over the half of America, Wi-Fi signals being crossed up, gift trucks at the end of every driveway. Everything is all tied up these days. And yes, indeed, Mike Reese was very, very angry indeed. And I got to
South
say,
Pole elf.
No kidding. I mean, but you know what? But that should resonate, Andy. I hope that getting put on blast by somebody that's been accused of being on the payroll, being an apologist, not being critical enough in his assessment of the gameplay and the moves made by the organization, the coaching staff, the players, and more. If Mike Reese, like I'm serious, if you get on the wrong side of Mike Reese, then you really have screwed up. And now there should be some soul searching. And I got to tell you, there's one thing I've not been able to shake in going back to rewatch highlights. I guess you could just call it game tape or whatever the hell that was they laid out there for 3 quarters until they decided to start playing, but it didn't really matter. Yeah, it was shit. It was absolute grade A shit. 0 for 6 on third down against a team like Arizona that's super middle of the pack. That's beyond trash. Like that's not even close to professional. You're not, like, you can't miss every third down. You can't miss your fourth downs. I don't know how they got. I mean, I know how we got to where we are right now. How did they get to that end result on Sunday? And do you really think that there's any turning things around as you head into the mouth of hell on Sunday? Flexed out, no less. Double flex for the Pats. Oh, my goodness gracious. Now bigger audiences can see them get their ass handed to them. How do you save face and grace coming into Buffalo on Sunday?
Well, I think that right there, that feeling, expectation. I'm a big believer that expectations are key to everything in life. And if you make the Bills punt, I think it'll be seen as a victory for the New England Patriots. If you stay within 21 points, it might be seen as a victory for the New England Patriots. Whereas the Cardinals game, everybody had labeled the last winnable game and, they're a meh team. And, well, guess what? They may be meh, and you're well below meh. You're whatever is well below meh. You're at the bottom of the barrel of the NFL right now. And you're right. 0 for 6 it almost felt like a parlay. You know how when, you do a 6-leg parlay, they had 6 third downs. You do a 6-leg parlay. You are over the moon if you win, but you're kind of impressed if you go 0 for 6 on all 6 legs of the parlay.
Like, wow, I'm a shitty right. Gambler. I should delete this app.
Right. And that's the Patriots. It's like, wow, you really impressed me with how bad you are. But I don't think it changes because I said to you on the post-game show on Sunday, I wasn't overly emotionally reactionary because I think the team stinks. And to
Mhm.
expect them, just because they had one extra practice and got to go to the beach for a little while, to expect them to suddenly come out and be better, better coached, better talent, better anything is just unreal. Vidarian Lowe is who he is.
Mhm.
Ben Brown is who he is. His butt cheek is where it is. The ball's going to hit it. Like, that's just what they are right now. It's Groundhog Day. I know it's Christmas, but it's Groundhog Day. You have Christian Gonzalez making you go, ooh, he's good. You have Drake May making some wow plays that don't
Mhm.
lead to victories. And and then all the negative stuff, maybe leading the negative stuff is your head coach is going to say something extraordinarily stupid that he'll walk back the following day and get roasted by Chris Curtis, which to me, if there was ever a reason for Jerod Mayo to hand in on a napkin, I resign as the HC of the NEP, it was the time he spent in the studio with Chris Curtis and the Greg Hill show on Monday. Because if you're getting roasted by Curtis, might be time to pull the old Homer Simpson and back your way into the hedges.
Seriously, Chris Curtis boom roasted the head coach of the New England Patriots after he grabbed his foot, flexible man that Mayo is from his playing days, and squarely inserted it in his mouth, whether he meant to or not. He certainly didn't, but he did. And these are the things he needs to know. And these are the things he needs to be coached up on. While he's supposed to be coaching people up on things, he's the one who needs to be coached up. He loses a war of words, or rather, even just like stumbles into getting clapped at humorously for the an audience that's already in dismay's listening and disapproval, approval, whatever you wanted to say for Monday morning. Like, I didn't think he could possibly top it, and yet he did as well. And again, none of us walked into the season saying, neither of us or any of our colleagues were the people saying this organization has gone broke and woke. They need to fire Mayo immediately. I'm not going to watch this season. We have extended slack. We have extended rope. We have hoped against hope that things would turn around and that they would get better. But holy mackerel, it's just like I didn't think it could get, honestly, I didn't think it could get worse. At least I thought maybe in the Arizona game, there would be more fight, they would be more aggressive, and they would at least be able to put up some sort of dam or like containment wall that would stop the bleeding or the flood of other teams just having their way with the Patriots against them. That was, I mean, if Arizona really wanted to, they could have probably even scored more. And you said it on the radio this week. The worst part of that game was when the Patriots finally got a touchdown and made it 23-10. And they needed their defense to step up. And we probably need to spend more time talking about how bad the defense has been and also just how bad the talent evaluation, the scouting, and the personnel have been. They just let the Cardinals slice their way like a hot knife through frosted cake straight down the field to make it 30-10. Ball game was over. Brutal. And now you've got the ownership in the booth making note. Like, how much longer do the Krafts, in addition to just being a lower tier team, how much longer do the Krafts want to be spoken of in this borderline mocking tone on a national basis? It's really it's upsetting and uncomfortable at levels I'm unfamiliar with.
But they need to, as Mike Reese put it, search their soul. And I love that he went after the Krafts, not by name, but when you say all levels of the organization, you're calling out the Krafts. And
Mhm.
they made this mess. This is their creation. And to scapegoat Alex Van Pelt or DeMarcus Covington or Jerod Mayo or Elliott Wolf is unfair. And I know owners own and everybody else rents, and you can't fire the owner and all the cliches, but this incredible lack of experience and structure is on them. I said this yesterday to Arcand. I can appreciate the idea that Robert Kraft's gut told him Jerod Mayo had something special and he could be a special leader of men. Because I've also thrown in here, remember, Bill Belichick hired him and wanted him to come back for multiple years before he came back. So Bill Belichick thought Jerod Mayo had something in terms of coaching and leadership and those things. So two pretty proven decision makers, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft, saw something liked in Jerod Mayo.
Mhm.
Great, awesome. But to put him out there with the structure or lack of structure that they did, surround him by no experience on any level, even questions of like who does what, when, how, and where. Like, oh, Elliott Wolf makes all the decisions. I mean, he's not the GM. We're not going to give him a title, but he's going to make the roster decisions. And
Ugh.
AVP is the HC of the offense until I walk that back, and then until I double walk it back, which is an awaken 4 something. I don't know. Do the math.
540.
540. Yeah, they
540,
pulled
yep.
like an Awaken 540. They got skinny, fat, and skinny again, which doesn't happen on the real Awaken 180. Once you lose the weight, it stays off forever because you get free consultations for life. It's part of the benefits
All
of the
right.
program.
Okay. All right.
These
All
are my
right, with the
peeps.
plug.
Anyway, this whole structure is so flawed that what did you expect? Oh, and I've left out some.
Uh-oh. Bad internet from Andy once again. It's our second frozen heart during the podcast, folks. We apologize for these. Oh, he's back. Okay. Technological difficulties. Andy, let me play you a clip I watched right before. You were in the middle of a good rant. Rechamber that for both our live audiences. We record the latest Six Rings and Football Things podcast here on Wednesday morning, December 18th, 2024. It's a little midweek hump day special. I saw this clip from our pal, Tom Curran, over at NBC Sports Boston. Thank you, Tom, for the shout out during your podcast that you took a little inspo from our Six Rings postgame show on Sunday night. Nice little debate that fostered between you and the Senator, Phil Perry, our pal. I grabbed this from the early edition with Tom Curran and Trenny. I believe this was Tuesday evening. Curran has a suggestion that might be like a saving grace for the Patriots if the Krafts can find the right certain someone to fill this role. What do you think about this?
What should be the number one priority this offseason, and how should they proceed with that?
That's a great question. And Mike McCann, our old friend, actually had a great suggestion. He said, basically, they need a football overlord. I actually really agree with that. I think the Kraft should hire a football overlord because Wolf's new, Mayo's new.
Now, are you talking about like the old Parcells role, like
Yes,
what Parcells was in Miami?
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So somebody who'll come in and be a hanging judge if he has to be and say this isn't working because everything else is a Band-Aid. If you go ahead and say, well, let's get Alex out and bring in Josh McDaniels, or let's get DeMarcus Covington out and get, for lack of Dom Capers. I mean, you can't.
Right.
Just get somebody over it so it's not the Krafts going, all right, you seem like you have a plan here. Let's go with get a
Football overlord, somebody with a true vision how to build a team front to back, tail to snout, port to starboard, the whole shebang.
Who would that be?
It's a good question.
I mean, you had a guy named Bill Belichick who you got rid of.
Right. And that was your football overlord. And actually, you didn't want somebody lording over the entire organization, which is why you decided to go with this new silo-free, super collaborative, touchy-feely, decompartmentalized approach. And it's not working.
I literally, and I would love if we could get some of the chat friends to offer names, but I can't really think of anybody that would fill that role. Like, I don't really want to go down the road of like an old guy. I mean, you're going to bring back like, I don't even know who, Bill Cowher, like some name that one, or Pete Carroll. Like, I don't even know who the example of that person would be who has successfully overlorded an organization. Like Jimmy Johnson, he's 107. Like, he's been out of the game for a long time. We learned with Washington that when guys are out of the game for a long time and you bring them back, it doesn't generally work. So I agree with the sentiment. I'm just not sure the person exists.
No, I agree with you completely. I wish I knew. Okay, Jerod Mayo just said a few minutes ago, according to Doug Hyde, Patriots head coach Jerod Mayo in a report that the Krafts have assured him that he'll return next season. I'm not sure where that story came from. Look, I have multiple conversations on a daily basis with ownership, and they've always been supportive. Okay, that doesn't do much for me here. That's, again, something else, like so many things that are said and many reports that surface and circulate. It's extremely nebulous. I wish I could point to the same way that people are pointing to, give me Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, he'll fix things for us. I wish I could point to who this football overlord would be. What Parcells was. Who did he do it for? After he coached Dallas? I did it for Miami, right? Okay. Is there no recently retired coach who? Yeah, there's that's somebody who just has coached enough, doesn't want to coach again.
I mean, the closest thing I can think of would be trade for Andy Reid. Like, would you give
He's not
Andy
going to
Reid?
stop coaching anytime soon when he may be able to surpass Belichick and
I don't think so
ultimately
either.
Don Shula with Patrick Mahomes. They're not even having their best season by any stretch whatsoever, and they're 13-1. I think they're going to end up going 16-1 and winning the whole damn thing again.
Yeah, I don't. I can't really think of people. I mean, I don't like the Pete Carroll. I said that earlier. I don't.
Ooh, okay.
Why would Pete Carroll do it? Pete Carroll didn't do it in Seattle. Now he's going to do it here. Like,
I thought he was going to ascend to sort of more of a.
well, he's a consultant for Seattle.
Yeah. No, I don't think
Dante would
Dante
want no
Skarnecki
part
is.
of it.
Nope,
That's
no,
not
that's
what
not
he
what he
does.
does. He is also enjoying his retirement. And his
I'll
grandkids.
throw a name out there.
Vince McMahon.
Ozzie Newsome. Ozzie
Ooh.
Newsome ran the Ravens for a long time. He's retired. Would he want a consultant
Before
or
Eric
overlord
DaCosta
role?
took over, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the way they ran their organization. It was Belichickian in its roots at times, maybe. But I think that, I mean, this is a great idea in theory. I just don't think the person exists. I think it's much easier in a weird way to say, you need to figure out the other guys. Is Wolf the guy? If not, get a different guy. Because I think there are more options to find good GMs than there are this overlord guy, whatever. Marvin Lewis, he was a coach. I don't know that I would trust him to run an organization, and I don't think he was a great coach anyway.
No.
I don't.
How about Herm Edwards?
No, not Herm Edwards. I mean, the obvious sexy answer is now the owner of the Raiders, Tom Brady. If you wanted to go the John Elway route, the Cam Neely route, and just bring the great legend in,
He was right there. I think Tom Brady
I wouldn't
never
want
wanted
him
to
do
come
it. I
back.
think he stinks, but
Well, he also. Would Nick Saban do it?
are we a college?
No, but he knows football. At least it would be a bright shiny object and or a possible scapegoat over here.
Absolutely. You'd spend a lot of money, you'd get a lot of attention, and I don't know that you'd win.
All right, here's a fine comment from Chad Moore, who's got the fabulous little art of the gas tank on the side of his Facebook avatar right there. Do we really need an overlord? How about just a head coach that makes us feel like he puts the team in the best position to win? In-game adjustments, holds the players accountable as a leader, not run over them in the media.
No,
I think
that's what I'm saying. I think
Yeah.
it's easier to find a replacement for Mayo and a replacement for Wolf than it is to find an overlord to make them better at their jobs in their current states. So I again, the idea might be strong, but I don't see the execution being realistic. And it's also avoiding, in my opinion, the problem. My opinion of McDaniels and Vrabel running the team, I like both of those guys. I think Mike Vrabel is a very good head coach. I think he stood on his own 2 feet. I think he has a great resume. And I think McDaniels has proven himself working with quarterbacks and young quarterbacks here and elsewhere. So would I do that? Absolutely. In a heartbeat, I would do that.
And they would both be. I'm telling you, there you go. That's a new Snap Decisions segment for your afternoon show. In a heartbeat.
I like it.
Like rapid fire. I'm feeding you guys all this content. Tell the ball hawk to take notes whenever he watches the Six Rings podcast.
He's a ball washer.
Okay, well now. I also would be 100% behind that plan. Experience. They would both have a vision. You could obviously trust McDaniels with Drake May and the offense. That would allow Vrabel to clean up the mess organizationally, tighten up operations, work a little bit with the defense.
Now, it's not perfect. I do want to say
No.
it's not. I mean, Mike Vrabel believed that, at least in tandem with John Robinson, that they should trade A.J. Brown, which I don't think he wanted to do, and that Ryan Tannehill was a franchise quarterback. I don't care for it.
All right. Here's a perfectly valid question before we get to a quick little segment I want to do, and we'll wrap up a nice little hump day. Six Rings here. Thanks for listening, watching, everybody. We appreciate your listenership, your engagement, and more. Jeff, who's watching on YouTube Live right now, says Dan Campbell was killed in the media his first year as a joke and called upon to be fired when they started his second year, 1-6. Why are we so quick to fire Mayo and not give him another year? That's a perfectly valid question. The thing is, at least you knew, I'll say this, and look, Dan Campbell makes mistakes and then has to walk them back himself. He obviously last week made a Belichickian go for it on 4th and 2 from his own 28/Dan Campbell going forward on 4th down against Green Bay move when he decided to elected for an onside kick, which is very different in 2024 NFL because he knew his defense couldn't stop the Bills because his defense has just been ravaged by injuries. Rare has it been that a Super Bowl contender has been so ravaged by injuries now on both sides of the ball. Poor one for David Montgomery. but at least you knew from day one. He told you what kind of football team they were going to be, Andy, and they were that team. It just took time for that football team to come around and actually come to life and take on his personality. And since then, there's been no looking back for him. Do you know what the personality is of Jerod Mayo and what kind of team he eventually wants this to be? Because I think I don't, and a lot of others don't.
And I don't know the answer to that, because he has said with some consistency, we want to run the ball, play defense, be complementary football, all of that. But I don't know if that's who he wants to be or who he thinks the team is right now based on its talent, and then that could evolve. And his messaging has not been nearly as consistent as Dan Campbell's. We mocked Dan Campbell, but he was Harry Hardo from day one, and he remains Harry Hardo. He was going for it on fourth down. He was biting kneecaps and ass cheeks and all of those things. He was very consistent. The biggest issue I have with Mayo is his inconsistency and his inability to properly share his message and his vision for the team. And I don't know if that's because he doesn't have one that he feels strongly about, or maybe it's not totally his decision, and the vision for the team is sort of a blend of his and Elliott's and Jonathan's. I mean, we haven't put enough time into it, but it's a horrific look for Jonathan Kraft to have a pen and a notebook and say the play calling is horrible and staring at the field. Like, for a guy who already from day one has dealt with issues about people accusing him of meddling and this is a bad time. Remember when he was supposed to be at the press conference to announce Jerod Mayo, and then everybody ripped it, and so he had like a emergency with another business or something?
What was his emergency that he couldn't be at the announcement? The crown jewel of the Kraft portfolio, announcing their new head coach, who the father was very emotional about because he handpicked him 5 years prior, and Jonathan wasn't there. WTH, bro.
Right. And, so they worked hard to avoid the meddlesome transitional owner, Jonathan issue. And now Jonathan's on national TV with a notebook taking notes so he can rip people, so he can fire people, so he can debrief with lots. It was a horrific look for this football team. That was a worse look than anything that took place on the field. The field was the third worst look of the day. The worst look was Jonathan. Actually, I don't know. Jonathan and Mayo were the two worst looks. You could debate.
I think Mayo inadvertently took number one by like a photo finish. We had to go to the booth for it.
I agree with it, because I said it post game. It was Bush League. He threw his offensive coordinator under the bus. It was the opposite of leadership. It was inexcusable, and you don't walk those things back. You can try to, but AVP knows what you said. We all know what you said. And to say you were defensive, well, you know what happens when you get defensive sometimes? You get honest, and you say things you've been thinking for a long time, but you just haven't thought you should say or whatever, and the emotion gets the best of you. So just like there's a little truth in every joke, there's a little truth at the very least in every defensive remark.
And as you like to always say, the truth is never mean.
It hurts when it's on national TV.
But here's the thing. Jonathan Kraft has every right to be making notes and to be telling his dad, look, the play calling is horrible. Look, I wasn't, there were reports from Bedard.
Don't do it on TV.
He does. You got to be careful. Yeah. Do it somewhere
You're
else.
In a box. Wait, there's no excuse. You are the Krafts. You like being on TV. Not that kind of box.
Okay.
Luxury box.
Oh, okay.
Like, you're going to be on TV because, if I'm being honest, I think at some point in your tenure, you told CBS you like to be on TV and you want to build your notoriety, so put me on TV.
You got enough friends, by the way, at the Columbia Broadcasting System that you could say, like, please, if Jonathan's if you see him gesticulating, please don't do anything. If he's making notes, if he's yelling to his dad, please don't.
So, but you should at least know you might be on. You're smarter than that. You're in public. You can't do what you did. Bad look. And you're adding to the dysfunction. That's, I've termed this dysfunction junction. That's what Foxborough is. Dysfunction junction until proven otherwise. That includes Elliott Wolf, Robert Kraft, Jonathan Kraft, Jerod Mayo, Alex Van Pelt to some degree. He's the lesser of most of the evils, but he still has made his own mistakes. He didn't know Marcus Jones played.
And yet Marcus Jones got another play on offense the other day and went for 18 yards on a little, I wouldn't call that, kind of maybe like a slip screen or whatever that was that they ran there. And Andy's Wi-Fi has frozen for the third time. Man, you gotta upgrade that. He's got the Mint Mobile of internet providers back home. Sorry to lose you there, Hart. We'll see if we can get you back in momentarily. I wanted to play a quick little game with Andy called I Said It, You Didn't, where we just fire off some Patriots-related hot takes. But unfortunately, it seems as though we've lost him. So I guess what we'll do is we will table that bit. It's the third time it's happened. His Wi-Fi is completely frozen. So I'll throw a couple suggestions, and then we'll wrap this podcast up. And yes, you guys, I am I am just as surprised as everybody that Kirk Cousins has been benched. He probably doesn't like that as well. Just looking to other NFL topics. Yes, of course, we have been double flexed. Of course, the Buffalo game this Sunday, 4:25 p.m. We are going to do a crossover podcast coming up, everybody, with our friends at It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. I'm not sure if we're going to have Sal Capaccio. We'll probably have Matt Bove, who's been on the podcast before. Really good dude. We always have a great chat there. So we will give Buffalo their appropriate chance to tap dance on our proverbial football grave, coming up with our crossover preview podcast going behind enemy lines with our friends in Buffalo on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. Don't forget, Saturday, December 28th now, the Chargers game. So whole milk Harbaugh, Herbie the Love Bug, and my draft crush lad McConkey are going to come in and squash the Pats. Think of it this way, folks. You know, you've got the winter solstice coming up this Saturday, the 21st. An absolute scoregasm, a football-a-palooza. 3 college football bowl games in the college football playoffs. 2 NFL games, including a really, really good one with Texans at the Chefs. Go Houston. That's going to be a ton of fun. And on Saturday, the 28th, the Patriots play. It sucks that they're going to be on at the same time as freaking BC in the Pinstripe Bowl. That's not great, Bob. Not great. But we all have laptops, phones, and multiple TVs in our fan caves for just that purpose. So we'll figure it out. You get the Pats game out of the way nice and early. Listen to some Six Rings post game as well while you're out and about making some returns, doing chores, hitting the packy, preparing to take the kids out for a supper at the 99 or whatnot, or get some bar pizzas because there's 8 bowl games and 2 more NFL games on. So if the Pats are going to languish against the Chargers and Harbaugh is going to have his way with Mayo, then at least just get it out of the way nice and early, but we'll hope for better results and returns. All right. Here's a couple questions I had. I'll do it with my new co-hosts as we wrap up the latest Six Rings and football things. You guys, the phenomenal viewership and listenership of Six Rings, who are joining me live now on the WEEI and Fitzy GFY socials. This bit is called, we'll play a quick round of I Said It, You Didn't. So here's my first one. Put Marcus Jones at receiver for the rest of the season. I'm saying it. You didn't. Would you guys be on board with that? I would, because at this point, there's plenty of other guys. Isaiah Bolden, Marcellus Dial. Let me see how the rest of the guys look at corner. I would love to see Marcus Jones get more reps so that either the Mayo administration, Alex Van Pelt, if he's returning next year, why not see if he's really that much better at receiver? You can always try to find another corner, but maybe, just maybe, his true playmaking abilities lay best on the offensive side of the ball. I said it. You didn't. Also, you know what I'm doing? Ramondre, you're going to get all the carries. Guess what I'm doing? I'm also flipping Antonio Gibson to wide receiver. I'm sending him back primarily to his natural position in college. I want to see what he can do. That's right, Wayne Felch, because you know what? There's zero chance Marcus Jones could be any worse than, he can't be worse than Polk. He's got more catches than Polk over the last couple of games. Yes, McNally, thank you very much. Let's try anything. Usually defense does have bad hands, but all right. You know what? Chad Moore watching live now on Facebook. Great suggestion. I would also flip Jalen. I would put Jalen. Good suggestion. Jalen Polk, you swap places with Marcus Jones. You're now a cornerback because you can knock balls down, and you certainly can. I love it. See, this is a fun game. What do you guys think, though, about the idea of giving Antonio Gibson some run, either at slot receiver or putting him outside? At least flex him out into a receiving position more often than not. He's not great between the tackles, but he does have the speed to take the ball to the outside. But the Patriots aren't very good at running outside because your guards and tackles can't pull and get out of space. And if they do, they're usually dragging someone else down to the ground and getting called for holding in the process. Yes, exactly. Edelman played both sides. Thank you, J.R. Fabian. Play him more frequently. What do you got to lose? John Langlois, exactly. What do we have to lose? There has not been, and this is one of my primary frustrations with the team, and I think it's one of yours as well, Pats fans. They are not playing with a what do we have to lose mentality. Everyone is coaching for their job. They're coaching and conditioning and preparing scared. The game plan by AVP in Arizona was way too conservative until they were down multiple scores. Then they decided to open things up, and what do you know? May just quickly flicks a 45-yard dime to Bourne and they score. Then they make their way down the field again, and he makes that incredible play where he's running towards the goalpost and he flicks it with his left hand in a Mahomesian style to Demario Douglas. But yeah, we only start doing those things in desperation mode. Well, how about you flick on the desperation mode switch when you start the game and play like your hair's on fire and you just don't care? That's exactly thank you. What's the worst that could happen? You could lose. Thank you, David DeMuth, watching live on Facebook. What's the worst thing that can happen? You're going to lose by more points. You can't get more embarrassed because the decisions that they're making right now that make it seem like they're unprepared or that they don't realize what's on the line. Everything is too conservative right now. Everything is too conservative. You know what? Fine. Go ahead. Put Joey Sly in at wide receiver as well. He's kicking for his job right now. Yeah, it's like preseason. Javon Baker, give him a little run. I would, but at the same time, I have, who am I to say? Gibson over Polk. Yes. Thank you, Joey Zaguire. I agree. And people just want to see effort. People want to see some creativity. People want to see the Patriots go back to the lab, get in the kitchen, experiment a little bit, try to cook in a different way because the way they've been going about things hasn't been working. And I got to tell you, between the offense and all the offensive play calling, the defensive play calling, and the personnel management, we hit on this earlier while Andy was still with us before his tech faltered, and I had to wrap up the pod solo. I got to tell you, a big fan. I was a card-carrying member of the Elliott Wolf fan club. I was a member of the Wolf Pack. I was all aboard with the Wolf of Ball Street. I'm very disappointed in the roster they built. I'm very disappointed in how this draft has worked out. And if you had to pick one between the three, Covington in the defense, AVP in the offense, or everyone involved in the personnel department, just think about this for a quick second. Elliott Wolf, Matt Groves, some of those guys were likely here. Actually, I know they were here, and they were working with Belichick and other scouting department, draft evaluators, and player personnel figures before the Mayo administration began. If there is going to be sweeping change in one department, I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it is in the offseason. Yes, I know I do have a freelance job with the team. No, I'm not being excessively critical of the people that I technically would call coworkers. Probably not, because I'm just the joker on the Jumbotron and Freddie fan service down there in Foxborough. But I wouldn't be surprised. I'll just leave it there. I know nothing. I'm just speculating, but I imagine a lot of fans in their heart of hearts know, wow, that's really where a lot of this began. They've done the coordinators, other coaches, and especially Jerod Mayo dirty in that capacity. So maybe we'll see some change in personnel. Maybe we'll see some new coordinators. Maybe there'll be another football overlord. And maybe, just maybe, the next time we do Six Rings, Andy Hart will upgrade his Wi-Fi as well. All right. That's right. It's Fast Talking Fitz wrapping things up here, Lee Brown. Great to have you guys. All right. This is the end of another fun and fabulous edition of Six Rings and Football Things, brought to you by your friends at WEEI Odyssey and 2400 Sports. He is and/or was Andy Hart at Jumbo Hart. Give him a listen and a follow on the WEEI Afternoon Show with my pal Christian Arcan. I'm your old pal Nick Fitzy Stevens, sometimes at nights, often on the weekends, and of course on the Six Rings post-game show on WEEI. It's been a pleasure having you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will have our Behind Enemy Lines preview with the good people of Buffalo coming up. Pats are only a 14.5-point underdog in primetime on Sunday. Of course, they flexed that game so the rest of the country could see exactly what we've been seeing in Drake May and what a prize product Josh Allen 2.0 is. Or someone's mad at the Pats and wanted to see a biblical beating done with a larger viewership, maybe even with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo on the call. Yeah. All right. Take care, guys. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride. Happy holidays. Grab a nog.